asking him to save Israel from the Syrians who were attacking them. 2 Kings 16. This led Assyria to utterly destroy the Syrian capital, Damascus, leaving it completely in ruins. Many people consider this the fulfillment of the prophecy. But the prophecy itself was written after Tiglath-Pileser III attacked Damascus. And, as Isaiah mentions the death of Ahaz earlier in Isaiah 14:28, it is assumed the prophecy was written after the death of Ahaz. His death occurred in 715 BC, 17 years after the destruction of Damascus. So obviously the prophecy is for a later time. Currently Damascus, the capital of Syria, provides the main supply of weapons to Israel's enemies. It is interesting that the city has an entire chapter mentioning its utter destruction considering its high animosity towards Israel at the present time. The cities of Aroer are forsaken. They shall be for flocks,